I'm Lizanne Flynn. I'm a master healer who holds space for any earthling as they reunite body and soul. I'm a bridge for relationships between all species so that the heart bond becomes stronger, deeper, and more loving. I serve in the roles of animal communicator, medium, and medical intuitive, and I use the tools of shamanic journeying and soul retrieval to support all earthlings in their recovery from past trauma. I'm certified as a canine massage therapist and Reiki master teacher. This is the Animals iView podcast. As the story goes, there I was sailing along, unfortunately, not literally, and heading into Monday with the topic of the superpower of neurodivergence percolating in my brain and me feeling good and optimistic about how the animals and I were going to turn the light on in that particular room for all of our listeners. When all of a sudden, kapow. Well, and it wasn't a kapow exactly. It was more of a, wait, what? That came across my professional landscape. And as I am my product, so to speak, every time this happens, which is usually once in a blue moon, that according to the interwebs is once every 2 to 3 years, and honestly, longer than that, the pinch that I felt was personal. And I asked myself the question, if this was a widget that I made and someone bought and then didn't feel it worked, would I feel that pinch less? And honestly, the answer is likely no, although maybe a little bit less because it would be a little bit more impersonal. When I work in energy with any earthling, it takes a vulnerability on my part and on their part as well, which is something the human animal doesn't much care for in most situations. We like feeling strong, and especially in the area of animal communication, which is the AC part of the podcast title, we like to be right. Hence, the other part of the AC myth title, it's their problem, as in the behavior problem of our animal companions. I've said before that easily 85% of the client questions and inquiries that I get in the area of companion animals is behavior based. As in, why are they doing X and how can I stop it? And why won't they do Y and how can I get that to happen? And sometimes that how can I is literal, as in, can you, Lizanne, tell them to stop doing X and start doing Y? Believe me, I don't really want that kind of power. I don't think anyone should have that. And sometimes that I is also more of the queen's we. And if that we doesn't happen and pretty dang quick, as in the behavior changes, I'll get contacted again and I'll hear, well, we've done this and we've done that. And I'll feel like the other human thinks they've kept up their end of the bargain and, well, I must be at fault. And here's the thing, and I'll label this caveat emptor, buyer beware, and not from the standpoint of my service not being what it is you and your animal companion need, which in itself is a clue. I am serving both you and your animal companion, and if push comes to shove, I'm honest enough to say I am likely to come down on the side of your companion. Not because I don't like you or I am finding fault with you. It's that as I follow the lead of the animals, I already know that their wisdom and their path of compromise between the two of you is the best way forward by far. And because you, as an AC neophyte, don't likely have a clue just how much is revealed about yourself in this particular arena, and definitely overall in the world of energy. I think it's likely why we have cloaked ourselves in the human-centric structures that we have, along with our belief systems, that if it doesn't physically occur in our third dimension, it's not real, and as well, we can hide those parts of ourselves that we don't want to reveal that gives away the full unified duality of our human experience. We'd much rather just continue to frolic in the light and all of its illusory glory. Heaven forbid if we actually have to face the contrast of our well-intended actions only to find out that the consequences they held are exactly the opposite of what we wanted as an outcome in this all-important relationship. This personal pinch in my "wait, what?" is also vested in my advocacy for the animals who I serve. And if I'm not careful, I can switch into the stereotypical mother bear role really fast. And of course, that doesn't serve anyone. It's gotten much better over the years, trust me. It's my role to equally serve all species in an environment because if I am unsuccessful in getting the human client to follow my lead and the lead of their animal companions, all is for naught. The behavior then on both sides of the equation becomes more entrenched and emotions only higher and more frenetic because respectful understanding of each partner hasn't been reached. The denial can be so frightfully strong in humans via our own internal and external belief systems, our blindfolds about the reality of energy and how almost ridiculously easy it is for animals to see what needs to occur in order to have their behavior shifted can certainly put a dent in our normally shiny and well-polished armor. It is a humbling thing, to be sure, to have your animal companion weigh in on your latest love interest, only to have them acknowledge the red flags flying everywhere that you have so studiously ignored. The same goes for a work situation where you're bringing home the irritation you feel toward a colleague or a boss and have that spill out into your frustration toward your companion only because you feel safe unloading it with them. Hopefully, not the literal kick the dog scenario of unloading on those closest to you and who are completely not deserving of your misplaced anger, which is a latent defense mechanism on your part in case you didn't know. You feel attacked. You feel vulnerable when attacked. You don't feel safe about defending yourself, especially if this is an authority figure. So you wait to feel safe for that defensive reaction to resurface. Oh, yes, your animal companion knows it all, sees it all, feels it all, hears it all, etc. Which is why, again, human clients can feel caught off guard and perhaps defensive should I bring up any of these scenarios as to why your canine companion is now, all of a sudden, it seems, reactive on leash when you go on your walks together. That's how very real your thoughts and emotions are to them in terms of tangibles in the world of energy. And I think I've said this before. I've often thought that maybe we should have the bubbles over our heads like in the cartoons that reveal our thoughts and emotions. Imagine how much more sincere our interactions with each other might be. Then animals would say, phew, my job here is done, and so I can chillax more and just worry about chasing spicy sky raisins and taking naps out in the yard under tree. And I'm hearing a huge collective sigh that dog in particular is fond of, and that we are too of hearing that same sigh of contentment. We get in our own way, we humans, with parsing unified duality into just duality when it comes to the problem of the behavior of animals. Another case in point this week was my standing up for the human-defined invasive species of starling. And if you look back at my podcast of 2023, you'll find one about starlings and their message of listen. A local Facebook bird group to which I belong was up in arms and really complaining about starlings, their predatory behavior of stealing nests from other birds and stealing food, which drives off allegedly other native species of birds here in Colorado. Long story short, they're invasive because humans brought them over from Europe in 1890 and again in 1891 because a small group in New York wanted to have every kind of bird in Shakespeare's time, that'd be the British Shakespeare and the European starling, to be here in the US as well. It is absolutely true that most species we deem to be invasive are labeled so because of human action. Welp, in this Facebook group, that didn't matter. They wanted to complain about this annual migration of starling and openly advocate for killing every member of this species, so harmful they perceived their influence to be. So I educated them about the history of starling, the factor of the number 7 in their murmurations, and the history of the number 7, unity between physical and spiritual that humans have defined. that seemed to change the tune for some of the members of the group, and I'd like to think broadened their scope of the unified duality that exists, and not just the contrast that we humans absolutely insist on projecting onto other species and each other. Chances are good that if something about an animal's behavior gets under your skin, you'd be well advised to look no further than why that is a trigger for you and not at the behavior itself. In the case of starling, I think it's the good old illusion of control. Sure, doesn't everyone want a lazuli bunting, pine siskin, or mountain bluebird at their bird feeder? We can also parse the line between predator and prey, and I noticed that as well in this group. There will be posts about a raptor, such as a red-tailed hawk, coming into the yard, chasing out all of the other prettier songbirds, which is honestly such an apt metaphor for denial of our own true nature of both predator and prey. How exactly did we get to lack so much introspection about our own selves and project it so strongly onto others? I'm hearing in my head, and probably from the animal collective, that we all need a therapist. And I struggle with bringing up with humans what I feel/sense might be a difficult and delicate subject. My clients hear all the time. Let's see, how am I going to put this? Because I want to make it as compassionate toward the human animal as I am toward all other animals. Because animals don't have those filters, right? They greet each other by sniffing butts. They don't wear clothes, letting everything hang out. And they also give each other more than the benefit of the doubt when escalating feedback, usually. First, there's the without claws fist whop on the end of the nose, or the low growl at the back of the throat, followed by the Elvis lip curl, or several whops in succession, claws in or claws out, as need be, etc. And usually that's enough for the first of the two partners in an interaction to go, whoa, my bad. I didn't know I was violating boundaries. And then again, they might try that a couple of times if they're young or just getting to know the other. They have their guidelines, and everyone in that animal world knows the guidelines. So that begs the question, what are the guidelines for your animal's behavior and or your behavior in your home? If you see a change in behavior, do you ask yourself the question, okay, when did this change? And if it's always been this way, why are you noticing it more now? Two different answers for two entirely different causes for the same shift in behavior. The first one means you need to think back to when the behavior changed and then look to see what in the environment, including you, changed around that same time. There's a very good chance the behavior is related to the change. Working longer hours, new love interest, both mean less time spent with your companion animal, and so one size does not fit all at all. When was their last vet visit? Are you keeping current with their annual checkups and running your hands over their body at least once a week? This is where both Reiki and canine massage of some sort will give you a ton of information that your animal can't. Have you made decisions about upcoming changes such as moving homes and or adopting more animals? You wouldn't keep a human family member in the dark about those kinds of significant changes, would you? Maybe you would, thinking you're protecting them, and I will tell you categorically with your animals, they already sense and know, to a certain extent, what's going to be changing. You represent all that is good and solid and loving in their world, and so why wouldn't you want to validate that energy for them? Why wouldn't you want to say, I know you've been feeling me get excited about our new home. Let me tell you about it and show you some pictures. They may have a follow-up question of, why are we moving? Be prepared for those follow-up questions because you're going to get them. And if not you, I will get them if we are partnering together. And Certainly, if you want any upcoming shift, planned or not, to go smoothly, it behooves you to pay the attention and understanding you are hiding nothing where your animals are concerned. Any reaction or behavior on their part can absolutely be mitigated and improved upon and met with neutrality and clarity on your part, which in turn lets them know that their emotions and thoughts about the flow of energy in your shared world is embraced and just as valid as your own. We all know how quickly they can write themselves around once the information is shared with them. Imagine you're telling your bestie what's going on, because the very last thing they want is any behavior on your part or theirs to be less than joyful during this brief lifetime together. And at least that's how the animals see it. Thanks for listening today. Leave a review and be sure to subscribe to this podcast. I offer all new clients a free 15-minute consultation. To schedule online, go to lizanneflynn.com. Come find me on social media, Facebook, Twitterverse, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I encourage you to sign up for my quarterly newsletter on my website, where I also post notices for upcoming events, the starting date of courses in the Animals iView Academy, and online psychic fairs. The episodes of this podcast are available on my YouTube channel, complete with subtitles. You'll find that link in my podcast footer, and be sure to subscribe. This has been the Animals iView podcast. I'll see you next time.